Slay the Princess is a horror visual novel by Black Tebby Games. The art is really good, I love the voice acting, the music is good, play it, okay? Okay, so, like, I don't really believe in spoiler warnings most of the time, but I do want to give one here anyway. Slay the Princess works in a way that it builds off of your knowledge of it, a little bit like Outer Wilds in that way. But not exactly. If you watch this, there's still plenty of value to be gotten from the game, so feel free to keep watching or not. I'm not your mom. I, however, found it valuable to play it blind. Anyway, now I'm going to give you the intro that I got to it.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
That's strange. It feels so abrupt, and I feel so off of balance. I'm surely missing some context or something. So I ask for a little bit more information, but it doesn't turn up much. I guess we'll just go down the path and see what happens, and oh, is that a voice in my head? That's interesting. Now, I'm not really sure what to do. The narrator is telling me to kill her, the voice in my head is hesitant. I think I can take the knife just in case, but just talk to her at first. I'm just really confused and I don't know what's happening. If the game is telling a story, I need to understand what the pieces in play are if I'm gonna get anything out of it. Talking to the princess doesn't help. Obviously, she doesn't want to get killed. Obviously, she's wary of me. Obviously, she could be lying and saying whatever to get out. I don't want to kill her. I don't really see any justification for it other than the title of the game. But okay, we'll go, yeah. That is the title, and it must be for a reason. So whatever story is trying to be told, maybe it's about like gaslighting, that kind of abuse, or I don't know, some form of communication. I can't tell what experiment is being conducted on me, but I think that the game thinks that I should kill her. So I raise my blade, but unsure of myself, I hesitate, check to see if she has one. She does, and I'm dead.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path...
What? I remember that. The voice in my head remembers.
This whole thing.
There's another voice? I need to know everything I can, but the narrator is no help at all. I'm sure it'll hinder my ability to slay the princess, and now I'm certain that I will, but I need to talk to her to see if I can learn anything. So I try, but she's changing. She's colder and harder. I'm still left with questions, then everything goes dark and I die. Okay, so she's pretty clearly a threat. I don't know what threat the narrator means, because he won't tell me anything, but she can kill me easily, so let's just go in guns blazing. I don't care what happens, I need to be able to kill her. I made my choice, so I need to see it through. That's what the game is called, so if I kill her, I'll hopefully understand more then. And I try, but then I get close. And she's strange. She's been mutating more and more each time, and it's been unsettling, sure, but I don't know, still just like a princess? Her voice is getting so sharp. I step closer again. My choice was made before I entered the cabin. Before I can strike though, the skin on her arm starts to slide off. Her hand and forearm fall away, folding like the sleeves of a robe, revealing what must be her skeleton, a long, sharp blade. We fight and she gets sharper and sharper. She reveals her full self to me, a collection of blades surrounding a beating heart. I die over and over again until finally I send my knife through her heart and I win. She's still able to get a lethal strike on me and we die together. I wake up somewhere I don't recognize, proceed to where I somehow know the cabin is, and I find her? But she's different and not hostile, and she calls herself the Shifting Mound. It's only at this point that you realize what the gameplay loop actually is. You start from scratch, craft a set of experiences, and present them to the Shifting Mound, where we can ask her more and learn about ourselves and our relationship and what the world actually looks like. So who is actually the Shifting Mound? We have to learn about her bit by bit. It takes a whole run to have a conversation with her because not only do we not understand what she is, she doesn't either. I thought the game was about exploring weird relationships, the intense negotiations, and it kind of is, but mostly it's about what those might turn you into if you need to have those experiences to become, and how big you may become if you try to amass as many of them as possible. The shifting mound is one of the two gods of the world, the embodiment of change. She is growth and progress and death and destruction. Without her, everything would stay the same, nobody would ever die, and nobody would ever be born. This is why the narrator wants us to kill her. He's one of the voices in our head, but he does seem different. We don't know what's going on, neither does Hero or Broken or Opportunist or Best Boy Smitten, but the narrator does seem to have an idea of what's at play, and he definitely has an opinion on what you should do. And when he finds it absolutely necessary, he can roughly puppet you a bit. He's convinced that if you don't kill her, then the whole world will end. Whenever you're in a second chapter and you tell him, or he finds out, that you failed to slay her once, he is extremely disappointed in you, and he feels the death of that whole world. He'll tell you that you've already doomed one world, and that if you want to protect another one from certain death, you absolutely must slay her this time. She obviously disagrees, but not exactly how you'd expect. When you tell her giving her free reign over the world would kill everyone, she says it won't, but then goes on that they would have had to, that they would have died anyway, that those deaths are just a stepping stool to the more important change. It's not a denial, more so not seeing why you care those people died. She tells you that she isn't fully formed and asks you to bring her more forms, more vessels. And so now you are tasked with the fate of the world. You can't wait in the space after the cabin. You can try, but there's nothing for you there, so you have nothing else to do but return. You have to choose to slay the princess or not. So you take your time, consider all your options, and explore as many facets of her as you can to get as clear of a picture as possible before you make your final choice. And that's the game. Put someone through one horrific set of circumstances or another, it's up to you. And then at the end of it all, you have to choose if you want to kill her or not. So I'm gonna run you through a few of my favorite vessels, and we can talk a bit about each of them.
It's a
Okay, so the princess I introduced you to earlier is called the Razor. To get the Razor, you have to slay her with some hesitancy. She'll see the opening you leave and take advantage of it. You'll do your job, but it'll cost you your life. After your first encounter, she learns that you aren't to be trusted and that she must take advantage of whatever she can. The world is cruel and it will act upon her, so she has to fight back relentlessly. And if she's already willing to slice, there's no harm in enjoying it a little. I'll talk more about the story and themes and everything later, but I do also just want to talk about the art direction of the game. It's in black and white, other than the occasional accent of red. It's drawn entirely traditionally. Each spray is drawn with pencil and paper and then scanned for use in the game, including the animated trailer, which seems mind-boggling to me, but I guess Abby Howard is just built different. But what it means is that everything feels tactile. The red isn't intensely saturated like dragging F000 across the screen. It feels much more like an actual object you can actually touch. This applies to the non-colored assets as well. While the game does have a lot of fantasy in it, the art generally has a baseline of realism. The default princess looks just like a princess, the cabin just like a cabin. A large part of what makes Star Wars' visuals so convincing in the Ridge Tridge is how dirty everything is. There don't exist any machines off the factory line, there aren't any clean white surfaces, the aliens are made out of puppets and masks. This means that everything looks like it's made out of stuff, and so when something horrifying does show up, it stands out that much more. When everything is black and white, the blood is so much more vibrant. When the princess looks like just a second ago she was flesh and bone, it's all the worse when her skin sloughs away to reveal her skeleton of blades. The quality of art means that the horror in their game is extremely effective, and it means that it's easy to accept the emotional stakes. That is a princess, and I don't know if I should kill her or not. It also uses humor really well. I find this game extremely funny, though not in a comedy game type way. It sometimes can be used to show off absurdity, but it mostly gets used to help diffuse the tension. I know that I use humor a lot to try and take the edge off of things. While trying to express vulnerability, it's extremely hard to not crack wise. I know that when my dad is put under a lot of stress, he loses all ability to read the room and decides it's a good idea to rehearse his stand-up skills. The humor in this game reminds me a lot of that. Generally, it's not the characters making the jokes, but the game itself. You're there trying to negotiate with a princess. You're being pretty wary, so she tells you,
"You won't be able to find a key if you don't know what it's supposed to look like, so you better come right within close staring distance just to be sure."
she isn't making the joke really, but as the player, it has the same tension relieving effect. It gives you just enough space to really think about what you want to do and what the consequences might be. You can't drive the tension up forever, so it helps pull you back every once in a while so it can keep building. Other kinds of horror might use a jump scare or a safe room in a similar way. Emotionally, you just can't build tension infinitely without it being exhausting or boring. And so therefore, when we see what happens in this route, it feels really intense. There's a lot of violence in it, and it's really stark. This was the first interaction I had with the game. I had no idea what was coming, and yeah, it's a lot. The brutality of this route really hit me upside the head. The way everything so quickly transformed out of my control, I couldn't understand what was happening. That's why approaching the shifting mound for the first time worked so well. Coming out of that intensity to this serenity didn't feel right. I couldn't calm down and accurately assess what she was saying, I just thought it was more. But instead of attacking us again, the shifting mound instead wants our help. She wants to grow with us. She doesn't yet grasp what is happening either, but she feels like it's the only way forward. To her, all that cruelty we put her through was worth it to get here. She can't choose the way she is going to grow, she can only accept the path in front of her. She can't know the way she wants to grow, she hasn't yet felt them. It's not up to her whether or not she does. It's not up to a plant to produce fruit, to an earthquake to knock down a building. It's hard to talk about Shifty without employing a little bit of poetry. She does it too. It's hard to just explicitly articulate, but it does all still make sense in the end. She's kind to you because she has no reason not to be, and she offers immense vulnerability in your relationship. You could theoretically talk infinitely to her, but what matters much more than that is the vessels you bring her. She entrusts you with building her heart, giving her the experiences she needs to inform what she will grow into. She doesn't know, but she trusts you all the same. And so you agree, she sends you back, and you're on a path in the woods. I see the player you mean. Swine? Yes, take care. It has reached a higher level now. It can read our thoughts. That doesn't matter. Minecraft is a special game. Other sandboxes exist, but there isn't any other that has had this much engagement from this many people. Other than Minecraft, I can't think of that many games that have had that level of popularity for that duration. Like, I don't know, Tetris? And I think a lot of why Minecraft has stuck around so well is its philosophy. It's not a sandbox so that you can find the best way to survive or optimize. It's a sandbox because it wants you to create. And naturally, people like to optimize and survive in it, but they do it in their own ways, and they'll decorate their farms and take the drops to their home where they try out the new blocks they just got. A lot of the most efficient farms are built by people who only play in creative mode, who don't even need the resources the farms generate. It's an inviting experiences. There are difficulties getting started, but it also provides you with the option of a bonus chest, peaceful mode, keep inventory, the recipe book. Minecraft wants you to succeed and build. Does we know that we love it? That the universe is kind? Sometimes, through the noise of its thoughts, it hears the universe, yes. But there are times it is sad in the long dream. It creates worlds that have no summer, and it shivers under a black sun, and it takes its sad creation for reality. To cure it of sorrow would destroy it. The sorrow is part of its own private task. We cannot interfere. But in Minecraft, creation is not a standalone entity, it exists as part of a whole. We create as the player, as we build our houses and farms and contraptions, but we also create as we tell stories of flecks in space, either protons or planets. We tell stories and play games and give ourselves experiences. Sometimes we think we're a miner or on the surface of a planet, but we are neither and both. We are the universe seeking to experience itself. We aren't separate from it in the ways we imagine, because what are we if not the universe organized? We are made of nothing but milk and love. We are the stories we tell about ourselves, and we are made out of the protons and electrons throughout the universe, collected through a lineage of life and complicated chemistry. And today I tell you a story about myself in this game, and it's delivered entirely by electrons. This is a completely unprecedented chemical situation in the universe, and also, I'm just a girl making a YouTube video. Building in Minecraft is like a rock going downhill. It's the most natural path to take. It looks like it's a lot of energy, but it's not. It'll take a lot of work to build everything you can think of, but the intensity of the crashing boulder was always there, just latent. The universe wants to be understood, and so it created a part of itself that could understand. It's not that surprising. We've created many systems to understand ourselves better, from psychology to anatomy. Tiger got to hunt, and bird got to fly, man got to sit and wonder why. And so while Minecraft is an exploration of creativity, the notion that we should build is not the only thing we can learn from it. The act of creating a home for ourselves requires deciding where that home sits, what materials it's made out of, how we'll get those materials. We must learn what our space in the universe is to make that space. We redirect rivers and shape mountains to live where we do because we simply are not separate from every other thing. We are the universe tasting itself, talking to itself, reading its own code. Every one of those choices is a creative act. It's not just the end product. That creativity is the engine that drives every breath we take. How do you make a good love story? You take two opposing ideas and mash them together until they kiss. Toko and you, Ray and Claire, Soletta and Minori. Sorry, I've been really into Yuri recently. If I let her keep going, she'd be here all day. Anyway, Darcy and Elizabeth don't actually have all that great a chemistry for most of the time. That's what the thing is about. I'm supposed to say book, but I haven't read it. But Darcy holds himself higher than everyone, and so even though he's interested in Elizabeth, can't interact with her in any meaningful way. Elizabeth saw Darcy act like an idiot once, and so will not move from her assertion that he sucks until he moves heaven and earth to prove otherwise. That's what it says on the cover. They spend the whole time arguing, and it doesn't make sense in a romantic lens until the end, where suddenly it does. It's interesting because of the conflict there was. In that vein, think of like Toradora or School Rumble or A Silent Voice. Even in fluffy, wholesome romance, the conflict is still what makes it interesting. Ben and Charlie just kinda like each other. Like, it's not complicated, and it's cute and it feels comfy, but they have to deal with the homophobia directed at them. They have personal issues and work together to get them sorted out. I engage with it largely like a comfort show because even though serious subject matter does get brought up, it always feels like it'll work out. In contrast, Tonikawa is incredibly boring and doesn't actually have any stakes. I made this a significant portion of a video once, but two people of compatible sexualities together does not require their getting together. Both of these are pretty laid-back viewing experiences, but Heartstopper is more interesting to watch and has a more compelling romance. If the central relationship is supposed to be compelling, it has to be made that way on purpose. And so if conflict is prerequisite to romance, the relationship between life and death has potential to be extremely juicy, and it is! Thorn is probably my favorite princess. I feel really normally about her. I first encountered her after seeing a screenshot of you getting to kiss her and promptly following a walkthrough to get to her. I still can't get to her without a guide because even digitally, I am a disaster. By the way, now that we're a ways into the video, I just want to apologize about the title being a bit misleading. These entities aren't really life and death, but more so entropy and heat death, ruin and preservation, or whatever. But that's not nearly as good of a title, and I hope I made myself clear quickly enough. Anyway. To get to Thorn, you first have to betray her trust. You say that you'll free her, and then you kill her instead. She'll fight back in self-defense and kills you in the process. Then you go back into the cabin and you have to place all your trust in her. You'll talk to her, apologize, and she won't believe you. Nothing you can say will be enough to convince her, so you give her the blade. She pounces on you immediately. She thinks it's a trap, some plan you have to betray her again. But you die quickly, and she sees that you meant it. You really didn't want to kill her. So finally, you approach her for the last time. You don't have the opportunity to pick up the knife. She still has it. You sit down with her and tell you why you killed her, that you're sorry. You are just as trapped as she is, really. Killing her was forced upon you, just as being chained was forced upon her. In order to leave, you have to leave together. It's not manageable for either of you alone. So you ask if you can take the blade back to cut her free, and she agrees. She hesitates and nearly changes her mind, but you carefully cut the bramble away from her and you fall into each other, get up, and leave the cabin. Thorn is obviously quite different from Razor, who we talked about previously. Razor is a great route if you want to show off the horror and brutality in this game, but Thorn is the best to show off the emotional intensity. You two go through several betrayals in a row and eventually decide to trust each other one last time. It's the first route I encountered that's explicitly romantic as well, though there are a few others, especially if you count getting stepped on as romantic. I think if you play this game, you should goof off and find as many routes as you can, but save one one slot for Thorn. This is the closest you ever get with a princess. Sometimes you'll be locked in endless combat, or you'll agree to be her servant, or some other eternal companionship, but this one is actually equal. You choose to be with her, she chooses to be with you. In the tower, you swear fealty to her because she makes you. With a damsel, she gets trapped by your consuming love for her. But this is a mutual choice. It hurt both of you quite a lot to get to this point, but you chose it. She trusted you and it killed her. You trusted her and it killed you. For both of you, the caution of that first death is still there, but both of you have seen that the other has died trusting you. It's so tentative at first, but when you mutually realize that yes, you will trust each other going forward, it also feels very stable. It certainly sucked to get to this point, but you have both chosen to believe that those experiences were necessary to bring you here. Ideally, you don't kill anyone or get killed, but that's already done. You've chosen to act, so the consequences will fall where they fall. You both made a choice, and so here, finally, you land. The romance you start to build with Thorn bleeds into your relationship with a shifting mound. Your character forgets about each run, but you, the player, do not, so you can see the bits and pieces of the vessels in the whole, and you still feel attached to them. And all those vessels still feel attached to you. As she sends you back, it's not uncommon for that vessel to ask you to remember her. They still feel a longing for you in some way. It's weird and jumbled, but you do grow close to the shifting mound. It only takes a few runs before the game starts to let you express love for her, and at that point you probably start wanting to. At first, when the content warning screen tells you this is a love story, it seems really hard to believe, but as you go through again and again, as you keep finding each other at the end of your pain and find comfort in each other, it starts to make sense. Okay, I'm gonna do some weird religion talk now. Sorry for the tone shift, but if I'm gonna give my thoughts on the game, I do have to talk about me some. I'm gonna talk about God now, I'll talk about being transgender later. All of my thoughts are contained within my brain, so there are some things that will end up sticking to each other. I'm gonna imagine that you don't know anything about Mormons, so I'll have to be a bit simplified, and I'll try not to use jargon. So if you're on board, here's some stuff for ya. Basically, we're God's kids. We're here to grow and develop and gain the necessary experience to grow into our full potential after life. Let's start from the top. God created us and created the earth for us so that we could grow and develop. However, he didn't do it by himself. He didn't come up with an idea and roll with it. He told all of us that he wanted to give us the opportunity to grow, gave some basic framework for how that needed to work, and then let us figure out a plan. After deliberation, we came up with coming to earth purposefully, choosing the ability to choose, knowing it would lead to our pain. The path we are on is not one that was laid out in full before us, but one that we are active participants in. We knew the risks and repercussions coming into this mess, and we chose it regardless. One of the beliefs that makes us weird is what we think about the fall. We're pretty pro-fall. Adam and Eve had a perfect life. Everything was provided for them exactly as they needed it, but they couldn't progress like that. In order to grow, they needed to be able to make their own mistakes. They needed a level of thought unavailable to them while stagnant in their perfect home. We don't know how long they stayed in the garden, but after consideration, Eve chose to leave. In order to find her purpose, she chose to rebel against God, making herself a participant in her own story and taking the first step in her own growth. She knew it would kill her. She knew it would bring pain into her life. She was fully aware of the consequences, but she did it anyway. She had to. Adam fell that men might be, and men are that they might have joy. To atone for all the sin and pain and death, Christ had to come and suffer it all himself. He knew he would have to. He signed himself up for it. He prepared as many people as he could to be able to accept his gift, and then allowed himself to be betrayed, tortured, and killed. He could have prevented it at any point if he wanted to, but then he would have ceased to be God. While in Gethsemane, while taking all the pain that has ever been felt in the world upon him, he asked for a break. He asked if he had to, if there wasn't anyone else who could do it, but he completed his task anyway. He knew what he was going into. He could have gotten himself out at any point. He could have prevented this situation in the first place. He knew what had to be done to grow. Something that's second nature to me and would get me thrown out of many other churches is that we are literal children of God. We are the same fundamental species. We are gods in embryo. What we chose premortally and Eve chose in the garden and Christ allowed us to choose on the cross is the ability to spread our wings into the full potential of our being. That's the point of it. We can't become who we need to be if we lack the wisdom of a life. And Christ saved us so we can escape eternal damnation or whatever, but to Mormons there isn't really a hell. Depending on what context you're in, hell to us could be several different things, but really all of us will go to heaven. We believe in differing degrees of glory depending on what actions you've taken, but even that allows for upward progression. And it's not so much relegating you to what you deserve, so much as placing you where you'll find the most comfort. If you would feel comfortable living with God, great, you go there. If you wouldn't, forcing you to do so would be uncomfortable, so you don't. That's not exactly separate living areas so much as it is one collective that we all have individual relationships to. This was a pretty cursory overview, and I do have lots of issues with how the organizational entity of the church has conducted with itself, but in general, this is why I like being Mormon myself. I enjoy believing that every person I see is here because they decided to do their best. I enjoy believing that my foremother Eve saw all the difficulties that she would go through as well as her potential and decided that it was all worth it. It's important to me to believe that I am here to grow and that growing is possible. The first time I played this game, Damsel was the final princess. I knew it was going to be the last one, and at that point I felt pretty connected to the shifting mound, so I wanted to bring her a nice one, a good memory. Completely ignoring the narrator and going straight to saving the princess seemed like an okay way to do that, so I tried. But the princess reflects our perceptions of her. Whatever we believe her to be, she transforms into, and we aren't trying to be kind to the individual vessels, we're trying to help the sum of princesses grow. In the Razor route, the player has to hold a lot of strange feelings about the princess. I got that route out of hesitant skepticism. I wasn't sure if she was evil, but eventually I acted as though she was. The same is true of Thorn. Her route is one of betrayal and eventually an earnest and exhausted plea for reconciliation. But with a damsel, there are no complex feelings. The only notion you have of that vessel is Princess Good. There isn't any romance in this route, even though it is the one that holds so many romantic fairy tale beats. People make acquaintances from niceness, but in order to actually build strong relationships, there must be some level of vulnerability that is denied to the damsel. You don't give her the option to choose what she wants in this route. When you try to ask her, she only ever responds,
I don't know. What do you want to do?
Each route showcases one of the many voices in your head, and this route proudly displays Voice of the Smitten. Smitten is always a great addition to every route he shows up in, but not because he's interesting. Cold and Hero and Opportunist all have opinions and will act in certain ways and are interesting to watch, but Smitten doesn't do anything other than flirt with a princess. It helps the game quite a bit. I talked about how humor is used already, and he certainly helps there, but he isn't the meat on the bone. He adds fat and flavor, but without him, the game is the same, just executed less well. He's in full force for the damsel, and it's not actually interesting. He loves the princess, and she wants to make him happy. It's a shorter route because that's not that interesting for that long. The first time I played this game, she was my final vessel. I went into the cabin, saved her, and asked her what she wanted, and she couldn't answer me. She just wanted to make me happy, which isn't a real answer. So I told her that, and she said it again. I asked her again, and she said it again. She began to fold inwards in caricatures of herself and faded away, and I was off into the finale. I wanted this to be a happy moment. This was supposed to be a pleasant gift for the shifting mound, but it was so boring. What Shifty wants is a diverse collection of emotions, and what I gave was hardly a cardboard cutout. I wanted to ensure everything was perfect and not allow for any hardship, but that's not a valuable thing to give. I wanted a nice, good ending, and what I got was so anticlimactic. I should have been able to predict this going in, but I forgot what the game was about. And that's what I felt on my first run. However, I played it pretty close to release, and after its success, it received a huge update. Several routes were created and a bunch got expanded, one of those being Damsel. In her new final chapter, those feelings of anticlimax and metatextual interest I felt get expanded into the text itself. We are forced to sit at a table with her, forced to act out that perfect relationship we built. We don't have any choices as to how we'll grow, we just sit and play games and eat and talk ad nauseum. The games get boring and the food grows stale and conversation dies out, but we have to keep going. And as the relationship breaks down, the princess grows more and more desperate to maintain it. The only way we can actually keep the relationship going is to stop enforcing its perfection. We have to take a step back and ask her what she really wanted and really listen to her. So the two of us go outside and dance under the stars. We ask the shifting mound about this vessels, and she tells us that she's a songbird.
This one is a songbird in a cage of gilded shadows. She will make for an honest heart.
We fought so hard to be perfect for her, but we were only reenacting expectations. We couldn't know her, she couldn't know us. Whatever we thought we were supposed to do, we were stifling ourselves in the process. We could only grow when we learned to hear each other's bird songs. Depending on how long making this takes me, I've just recently started HRT. It's been just over a week as of writing. I'll put an overlay as I'm editing. I make these pretty slowly. I've been wanting to start for years now, but just kept placing artificial roadblocks in my way. There are some logistical difficulties. I'm not sure what's going to happen with my family or my job. I have less savings than I used to. Losing an eye will do that to you. I've spent most of the time since my egg cracked trying to learn about what to do, but really, I spent a lot of that time making myself more and more scared. Like, we have fascism about and everything's on fire and scary, and I spent so long falling down those rabbit holes, immobilized by the scale of it all, and I'm scared most of the time, but I've started to see other people begin their transitions again. I stopped looking for those kinds of stories for a while because they made me feel immobile, and I kept making myself feel weaker making those comparisons. Of course, many other trans people have done the same, but every day an egg cracks, every day one hatches, and every day people emerge how they want to. I am not the only one. I spent so long in the cold. I knew for certain that pain was on the horizon, so I simply stayed put. It was agonizing, of course, but at this point I had gotten used to pain in the future growing despite my efforts. Like I said, it's been a few years like this, just about 4. I can't really tell you why I started to move again, but one day I set the appointment and now I've done it. From now on, every day is a step closer to where I want to be. I haven't really experienced any physical changes yet, like I guess my skin is softer, but nothing huge and nobody's noticed. That makes sense, it hasn't been that long yet. But I do have a massive change it's given me. My fundamental baseline has changed from despair to hope. I can have a bad day, fight my best against it, and after I'd calm myself down, I'd collapse, knowing that I'd have to do it again tomorrow. There's everything that sucks about being in a job you hate, but then there's the exhaustion of knowing you'll have to clock back in. But now, even when that fight takes me to the ground, I can see light at the end. Each pill I swallow is another change I undergo, so all I have to do is stick around until they start to add up. It'll take 7 years to replace every cell in my body with one I chose, and that's a long time, but 6 years and 51 weeks is a little bit less so. It takes a lot of work to rebuild myself from the ground up, so it's important not to put it off. I am scared of everything crashing down around me. I think that it could. I also know that I've spent a significant portion of my life catastrophizing, so imagine a dystopian future is the easiest path for me. But there's a new path now, and it's got a much better view along the way. I feel so incredible now. I have so much more energy and I think so much better, and I actually want to be here now, but also it just kind of feels normal. The change is terrifying but also peaceful. I am violently crashing down the mountain headed towards the place natural law dictates I should be. That bit about cells isn't really true science, but it's true enough you understand me, yeah? And so, we reached the finale of the game. We've suffered and learned, gathered our experiences. We're off to make our final choice, but first we get a chat with the narrator. We've seen bits of his fear about the princess, but now that his power over us is fading, we get to interrogate him. You won't be able to ask him everything in one run. He fades before your eyes until he dies. You've grown beyond him. The whole game up until now, he's been terrified of losing the world. Whenever he learns you're in a second chapter that you've already failed to slay the princess once, he grieves for the world that's been lost. It's not a world you can see, so none of your voices do. They aren't even sure it's real, but he grieves it. But he's placed you in a construct, some sort of fractal framework that has limited your and her power. It means you aren't connected to the real world. There are people outside, but it also means everything you see as you play does get lost. There does exist a world inside, and he contained it and he made it temporary. In his fear of losing everything, the narrator guaranteed that parts of the world would become inherently temporary. He fought to preserve himself, but in order to do so, he turned himself into an echo. He's not even a full being anymore, and over time he fades. He was so scared of losing everything that he ensured some things would absolutely be lost. The world, the people, they don't exactly live in the construct, but they do live under its shadow. We've seen it reset time and time again, so they have too. They're safe from the destructions we've seen, but only because they keep going back in time, keep getting pulled back to how they were at the start. Nothing they've done has had any impact because it'll just get erased. The narrator believes that a world without her will be light and burdenless.
Burdenless. An eternal pattern of forgetfulness leading into the joys of rediscovery.
But everything will be stagnant forever. The narrator sounds so wistful for that world, a world where I could play Outer Wilds for the first time over and over again, where I would perpetually be just getting into anime, where everything I saw was the new greatest thing I'd ever seen. It would be a world where my egg would crack, only to go back into the closet and then crack again. Part of that sounds magical, and a lot of it sounds excruciating. In the game itself, we can achieve the good ending, where we follow the narrator's directions perfectly and slay the princess perfectly, but we sit there by ourselves, and the only way out ends up being suicide. If we ask the narrator what the princess is, he tells us, among other things, death itself. There are other things that she is, but he can only see one. She's also growth, but that's invisible to him. He's blind to all but that one aspect of her. And as we ask him our final question, once again we find ourselves on a collision course with a shifting mound. We have a boss fight where we basically shout poetry and philosophy at each other, and then we have to make our choice. Will we complete our task and slay the princess? After everything the narrator said, and that Shifty has said about herself, most of it we've already gathered. She wants to radically change everything. That will result in deaths that she can't see. That doesn't read as an ending to her. Paths only end where others begin. That change allows us to grow beyond our current capabilities, otherwise we are self-limited and restrained. She expects the current universe to die, but another will be born, the cycle repeating eternally. On my initial playthrough, I felt that she was a necessary force. When she said that she wanted things to grow, I believed her, but she was so flippant about the death it would cause, she didn't even pause at the fact that letting her out would destroy the current universe. I didn't want to kill her, but I couldn't let her out. One thing that stood out to me as we talked though was that she was a force of perception. She can do whatever we think her capable of. So while there were only two paths in front of me, I decided to have her create a third. So I had her put me back in the cabin. I walked down the stairs, we had the same interaction we've had countless times. And this time, instead of killing her, we made a plan together. She's going to reset everything, and we're going to be back here again. We'll have to make the same choice over and over again, but we found our love the first time, we have to trust we'll find it again. There's no way to know if we've made this choice before, or if it's the first time we've chosen this. But I won't let her out, and I won't kill her. So we take a moment, and then I find myself on a path in the woods. In Mother 3, Lucas has to go through a lot. He loses his mother and then brother. He watches the life be drained from his home by the same flippant disregard for life that killed his family. He's attacked again and again. The fate of the world is placed on a child's shoulders. It's also a funny game, bursting with life and personality. It's approaching 20 years old, but its charm is so potent that it's still the best example of all the games built in its image. That pain and that joy are not experiences you can separate. When my dad gets stressed, he can't read the room and starts making jokes nonstop. The main villain of that game is not defeated by your hand. You do fight him, he does try to stop you, but as it becomes clear to him that he can't win the fight, he gives up. Rather than lose to you, he places himself in an absolutely safe capsule. Within it, nothing can ever get to him again. None of your attacks can reach him. From within, he can taunt you as much as he wants. It's not a common magical item. Porky kidnapped the most capable engineer he could find and forced him to build it. It was a childish dream that required sustained action under threat of force to construct. While approaching Porky, Lucas has to play games with a robot facsimile. The games are easy to win, but Porky won't let you closer if he loses. So you have to throw them, making it look convincing for his ego. More important than anything to him is his fear of losing. So he made Dr. Andonuts and the Saturns build that machine for him. It locks him away from every sensation he will ever feel again because it is absolutely safe. If he could escape it, it would not be absolutely safe. That's kind of the situation I put myself in, isn't it? I didn't want to let the princess out, but I didn't want to kill her, so I decided to loop again and again. Rather than make a choice that had an effect, I made myself as small as possible, tried to do a leave no trace camping trip throughout my own life. I knew I was trans, but I couldn't make the choice to do anything about it. I fought to keep myself in an absolutely safe capsule. Though, of course, such a thing does not and cannot exist. While I can lock myself into my own mind, I can't do so forever. I can tell myself that shrinking further is safe, but there will always be something that can reach me. Since I can never be absolutely safe, it doesn't make sense to try to be. I can fight for it, but it's inherently wasted effort with a high opportunity cost. Simply spending that effort elsewhere makes it all much easier to handle. I knew I was going to play this game again, and so I thought this was always going to be my ending. I promised her that it would be, but it ended up being impossible. I grew between my playthroughs. We were supposed to repeat that forever, but really, it has the same effect as just killing her outright. Either way, everything still stays the same, and so the second time, I changed my mind. So I let her out. Finally, we are able to feel the confines of the construct we've been placed in, and we can feel ourselves straining against it. We've grown larger than it could possibly contain, and there are two of us now. So it snaps, our wings unfurl, and we step forward hand in hand. We are always going to conflict, but we will always be together. We have finally found home in each other, directing everything for all time. We see every aspect of this, the first signs of color exploding onto the screen, greens and yellows and browns, everything growing and changing. We see actual footage here, like pictures and videos, not just art drawn for the game. We're expanding what's been invisible to us massively because we are finally doing what we were always supposed to. And I just want to call attention to the score here. It's wonderful. It's the same motif that's been here throughout the whole game, but it explodes here. It's expanding its emotional range to fit the scale of this moment. It's built up the layers of emotional intimacy over the entire runtime, and now uses that to blow everything wide open. And that's Slay the Princess. The growth will be hard, but it's worth it. There will be pain. There is going to be a lot that just plainly sucks to deal with, but that's part of the deal. Things inherently change. Even when we try to preserve them, entropy always finds a way. If we try to stay put, instead we just decay. So we have to move forwards, we have to grow. Inputting energy is the only way to overcome that entropy. We are always going to be falling apart somehow, but we have to put ourselves back together faster than that.
Making a mistake is just a chance you gotta take. You gotta shake a booty, shake.
Thanks for watching. If anybody makes it this far, on the off chance anybody did, leave your favorite animal in the comment section below. I just want to see how many people do. I like bees. This is a lot bigger of a thing than I normally make, and it's kind of weird, and it's been in my brain for a really long time, and honestly, genuinely, I have no idea if it's good or not. I can't even get a frame of whether or not it's interesting anymore. So I hope somebody liked it. I hope it was useful to somebody. But the thesis is it'll suck, but it'll be worth it to go through. Which logically I believe, but do I take my own advice? But making a mistake is just a chance you gotta take. Whatever. Don't pay attention to me. I'm not making any sense in this moment. Bye. Have a good one.